The Super Bowl came and went, and could you believe what we witnessed? A complete dismantling of the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes looked bamboozled. And what about that halftime show? It's got everyone talking, probably more so than the game and the score. And after my great prediction, does Nasty owe me a poutine? All that and more. Join us on the ride.
Welcome to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napashka guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to The Ride.
Hold on one sec. Do I owe you a poutine? I literally handed you the chance for the hero call last week. I called the CFL season. I won that. No poutine. I called the Grey Cup. I took the underdog. No poutine.
You snatched the underdog pick from me.
Dude. There's no snatching.
Into the Hitman's bar. It's like you did. We went to the Hitman's bar, and Bret the Hitman Hart was the victim of the Montreal screw job, where they turned the script on him last second. You did the Hitman screw job to me last second. You picked the favorite or the underdog. I wound up picking the favorite and I lost. This time I picked the underdog. I win. But do you owe me a poutine?
Rob Evans is even calling it Spalumbos. There's a lot of unpaid debts here. But you know what, Chev? I'm going to be the bigger guy just to make you look bad. And I'm going next week. You will have a poutine delivered to your house just in time for the show, courtesy of Nasty, because that's the kind of guy I am. If somebody feels I owe him something, you know what? I'll take care of business.
No, I don't.
With the poutine, I'm not going to make you wait 3 months.
I don't even want the poutine. I just want your company. If you don't deliver it and come and hang out with me, then I don't want it. But you know what? I am glad you're hanging out with me on Tuesday night, along with all our friends here. We're The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. We're powered by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business, which we got to do a great live event last week with YYC Business. They had a networking event, and Daryl was there with his group from Performance Freight Management, and the Western Lifestyle Foundation was there as well. Bruno wasn't there, but he was there in spirit. But Adam and Enta Productions, put and you know what? We brought our underwear and a banana, and maybe we'll post our little spiel that we did, because it got some pretty good reviews from what I've seen on LinkedIn, and you did a fantastic job, buddy. You did a fantastic job.
And what was it? What was the teaser? What does this banana, these underwear, and a hotel room in Ottawa have to do with each other? Well, guys, that's probably going to be another episode for another night. But guys, welcome back to The Ride, episode 62. Did you already name our sponsors? I think you just kind of
I did.
Just a reminder, if you don't catch us live, you can always go back and catch our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you prefer to catch your podcast. But episode 62. Trey, who do you got for us for this week in 62? There's a couple of them out there that we played against. Of course, with the Calgary Stampeders, the great John Comiskey, brother of Dan.
John Comiskey.
Guy was a beast. This is one of the strongest, most intense dude. Look at I have fear and goosebumps coming back to me just looking how intense he is in this stance there on the right. But there's a couple of other great 62s as well. Chevy, did we just lose you?
No, I don't know. I think I lost you, but I think you're back.
Oh, no, I just said I was setting you up for a couple of other great 62s that we've got up there on the screen.
Yeah, sorry, Joe Thuy from the Chiefs. But you look at Jason Kelsey there. And I was actually going to ask you this. Trey mentioned Stanley Bryant was another teammate of mine.
Yep.
Edwin Harrison, I think he's the O-line coach now in Saskatchewan. A lot of great 62s. Yeah, Comiskey. Actually, the story about Comiskey, I broke my thumb on him. So that was something to note. And we always got into a fight in training camp, him and I.
Yeah.
But he was a tough hombre. But Jason Kelsey, this was one I was going to ask you. I was thinking about this on my drive home. Do you think he regrets retiring? Like, I know he has a Super Bowl with the Eagles, and he gave that famous speech in his funny suit. But, here he is 2 years removed from the last one, and he retired. I'm sure he still had some football. And do you think after he sees what happened that he might regret it a bit? What do you think?
It's going to cross the guy's mind. I mean, tell me a football player that ended his career when he didn't think he had one more season in him, right? Like, for sure he is. But, at the same time, he's doing pretty okay for himself right now. He's enjoying it. He's at every Super Bowl, whether he's playing in it or not. I mean, he's bigger than he ever was as a player, and good on him. And enjoy your time off. Enjoy your getting your body back in gear again.
Well, speaking of back in gear, Sheldon, let's go with what we always start the show off with, our 300-pound poetry. What do you say?
Let's do it, Trey. It's a long text line. We are 300-pound poets at the end of the NFL season with a Super Bowl having been played. Do you still have a reason
to tune in to our show this and every other Tuesday night, where we talk about whatever we want and we rarely fight?
This game was an epic, but the Eagles' dominance was impressive. Their offense was unstoppable and their pass rush aggressive.
The Chiefs just looked outmatched, and early on they looked done. No high fives or big plays. They looked like they weren't having fun.
But the halftime show left us with the most polarizing debate. Was Kendrick Lamar's performance just meh, or was it super great?
Yeah, what do you think? We'll talk about that. On this ride, we will give you our take. No show can be finer. We hope to strike a chord, just not in A minor.
Ooh,
right on time.
He did it.
Trey bamboozled me there for a second there. I didn't get the opening 300-pound poetry splitter, and I was like, I was lost.
Wow.
Yeah, that's probably what Patrick Mahomes felt in the game once that pass rush started going. In case you missed it, the Super Bowl was played on Sunday, and as we mentioned, the Eagles. I mean, can you even talk about the Chiefs in this game except for the fact that it looked like they didn't show up?
The whole story, I think, from the Chiefs' perspective, was just watching and seeing a look from Mahomes and Kelsey and the boys that I've never seen before. A team that's always in control, even into late in the second quarter. I was talking with my kids and just watch. They're one drive from turning this thing around, but it never happened. I mean, it was probably like, I can't think back to a more dominant performance or a more lopsided victory that comes to mind. Like what would you compare this to? This is literal David versus Goliath. But it wasn't an upset victory. It was complete domination. It looked like the two teams didn't belong on the field together. Like to put this in, let's say, Canadian hockey terms, this would be like going to an NHL Stanley Cup playoff and a team sweeping a team 4 straight. That's what it felt like. There was hope that maybe there was a little bit of something in them. Like, you knew the players that the Chiefs had, they're designed for this type of game. They have weapons. We named them all last week. The only place they gave up a little bit was in the running back spot, and that wasn't how the Chiefs or how the Eagles dominated. And I just thought, maybe we'll see something from them. And it was just like death by 1,000 cuts. Go ahead. Let me ask you this. So I think it was the opening drive, wasn't it? 4th down, Philly goes for it. And a huge pass to AJ Brown. Beautiful pass caught along the sidelines. From the TV initial angle, looked like it was just a beautiful throw and catch. But a flag comes out. I mean, and everybody knows the history of this already. There wasn't a person in the country, in North America, that wasn't watching this saying, "Oh my God, what did I just see?" Even Tom Brady hated the call. He went to their rules guy. He hated the call. Trey was blowing up our chat line.
was upset. I was egging Trey on, but you know what? The hand did go to the face mask. It was a judgment call. It was a ticky tacky call, but yeah, we thought, oh, here we go. We thought, oh, this is going to be it, right? And
well,
then,
honestly, it felt like they're not even trying to hide it anymore, right? Like it was for me, my stomach sank. I thought, oh my God, is this really what we're in for tonight? But as it turned out, I mean, I don't know if that had an impact on the rest because you almost get the sense that they're sick about that call as well. That they've got New York in their headsets saying, "Come on, boys, we gotta call this game right."
but there was a bit of a makeup call a little bit later on, so everyone was happy, right? Everyone was happy in terms of how it ended up. The referee settled down after that. I thought it was a really well ref game, well judged game. There wasn't too much that left us wondering what were they thinking or what were they doing. I know Trey hated that first call, but from the ref's angle, the guy's hand was in the face mask, and I guess he saw it. But yeah, I don't know. Like when I think about this game, I thought it was going to be a great rematch. I thought it was going to be a great. Yeah. Trey says the false starts on the Eagles long snapper. Yeah, those were crazy. But maybe we'll get to that in a second. But I thought it was going to be a great rematch. Instead, it was one team that was hell bent on revenge and proving everyone wrong, except for me who predicted them. But I picked them because they were the underdog. But hell bent on proving everyone wrong. A quarterback hell bent on proving to people that he is a legit quarterback in this league, because I think everyone still questioned Jalen Hurts with sort of the way they structured the offense around him in the last couple of years, the running, the tush push, but I'll tell you what, starting from him, who was the MVP of the game, it was a masterful performance. In fact, the only player who, again, I won't say he didn't play well, but he didn't do what we expected, was Saquon Barkley. He never hit that home run that we were waiting for. But because of his presence, because he was capable of hitting that home run, the Chiefs had to load that box.
They had to, right? They had to load up and prepare with from the standpoint that, listen, Jalen Hurts is good, but he's not going to beat us. It's Saquon Barkley that can take the game over single-handedly. And they did a good job of limiting him. But let me ask you this, back to Jalen Hurts. Does this change anything for you in the way that you look at him? Like he's been a star. He's been a stud. He wins a lot of games, but he's never been able to take it to the next level. Was this enough for you to say, yeah, he is now a Super Bowl contender year over year? Or was this just a one-off, relied on the defense kind of a win?
With the way he played, honestly, and the performance that he put, like just the little subtle things when he kind of gives a little hand signal and send the guy on a deep route and then throws it deep, like everything was like he looked surgical. And he hasn't looked like that to me since I've been following him. And like I said, I've been super cold on this guy for the last two years. I always thought, it's like, why is this guy getting this opportunity? He just didn't seem to be that guy, but he proved me wrong. Like I never thought he was a bum, but I never thought he was an elite quarterback. He's an elite quarterback. Like he's up in the conversation with Lamar Jackson, with Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has the Super Bowl pedigree, so you can't. But if Patrick Mahomes had no Super Bowls, and we're talking about just talent for talent, Jalen Hurts is up there with him. In fact, he outperformed them in this game, but he got a lot of help from his friends, right? He definitely got a lot of help from his friends, and his friends on the D line certainly did help.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing I know we're talking about at the time. It was just as two defensive linemen, to me, that's what fascinated me the most. The way they were able to rush, they're able to get the edge, and the tackles just kept their lanes the whole game. It was unbelievable, but it was shocking to me. I think it was in the fourth quarter, they let out the stat that the Eagles had not blitzed once. Not once. And folks, I'll tell you what, if you're watching at home, the thing about that is you're fine to send 4 men all night long. Right? Are they going to get there? Yeah. Well, most of the time they don't get there as consistently as we just saw. So you have to bring different packages to give the team different looks. But every time you bring a safety, every time you send a linebacker, you're opening something up in a quick slant, somewhere in a zone, or beat your man before he can get there is going to occur. What fascinates me about them getting there with 4 guys is Kansas City wasn't able to run any jet sweeps, tosses out to the flats, because your outside linebackers and your safeties were already in position. They're already good on that umbrella coverage that they play, but they had 3-4 guys underneath to take away the quick stuff. And I mean, you could say, is that the recipe to beat Patrick Mahomes? I'm going to say that has never been done before, or not in a long time, where you have 4 players being that dominant that single-handedly dictated what Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs could do. It's not like he just had to throw between tunnels either. He was running the whole night, Chev.
Yeah, no, I agree. The last time I had seen it, Sheldon, was 20 years ago when the Giants did it to the Patriots. Patriots had that undefeated season. It was a season with Randy Moss. Everyone thought they were going to win, and New York Giants took over with Michael Strahan, O.C. Umenyiora, and I think it was Justin Tuck, and it was absolute dominance. And in that game, Tom Brady, who arguably is the greatest of all time, I think he is the greatest of all time, at that time was making his name for that. And he looked like he was shell-shocked in that game. And I saw a repeat of this. Like anywhere Patrick Mahomes went, he wasn't even able to make those Patrick Mahomes-esque plays where he could kind of escape the pressure and get out and throw the ball. He did it once, and it was like on a 4th and long, and he barely got close to the line of scrimmage, and they had to get off or it was 3rd and long. And yeah, they got him off his rhythm. He couldn't connect with anyone. Another guy that was off his rhythm was Travis Kelce. A couple of drops, didn't really factor into the game. A couple of times I saw the timing was off on sort of that motion across where they do the quick snap and hand off to the running back. Like everything just
even blocking, Chef, he wasn't solid. Like it was just something about them. And I wonder, was this the fact, is this Kansas City not being prepared? No, it's no way it's that. I mean, it's the same coaching staff. They've been here before. They've even handled adversity before. I wonder at what point in the game that the thoughts started crossing their mind saying, we might not have this. We might not have an answer.
Yeah.
Because that look in Mahomes' eyes told it all. Like he didn't look like a guy looking for solutions. When you saw Hurts on the sideline, he's in there with his offensive lineman going over pass protection. He was engaged with his offensive line. Patrick Mahomes looked absolutely lost, and I've never seen that from him before, ever.
Yeah, no, same here. Like I completely agree with you. It kind of reminds me, not totally the same, but we lost the Grey Cup when I was with Edmonton 2002, and we went back the next year against the same team, the Montreal Alouettes. And I remember after we won the game, I was in the bus with Bruce Beaton, the great Bruce Beaton, and he said, he's like, no matter how good they were and how talented they are, they could not match our resolve to win the game. We were galvanized early on that we were going to take this thing. And I think we saw that. We talked about, how close the game was against the Bills and how, everyone was hanging the success or failure of the Bills based on the referee's call. And I told you last week, and I'll say it again, to beat the Chiefs, you had to blow them out of the water. You couldn't just match them. If you're matching them, remember, if they're even, they're leaving. The Eagles, they sunk their teeth in early and they did not let go. Cooper DeJean, unbelievable interception for a touchdown early in the game. Bond, another interception. The defense played their butts off to keep the ball out of the Chiefs' hands. They scored points. Their resolve was stronger than the Chiefs. And you saw it based on the play of their defense. And then their offense, just everything was working for them. And for the Chiefs, nothing was working. And that's what you have to do, because when they had that 20 or 40-14 lead or whatever it was at the end, and then the Chiefs started looking like they could come alive a bit, Patrick Mahomes threw that dart, like 60-yard pass to Xavier Worthy at the end there. You're like, well, this is the Chiefs that we were waiting for. But the clock was running out, and the Eagles did a fantastic job of eating up that clock so that the Chiefs didn't have time to operate. They did what the Chiefs do to other opponents when they had that short lead, but this was a 20-point lead, and it worked in their favor.
And you look at it, Chef. Final score 40-22. Two defensive scores, one defensive score and one turnover there on the 13-yard line. Equating to 14 points right there. You take away those 14 points, and suddenly you're sitting at a 26-22 game, and that would have been anybody's game.
I'll
again,
also say,
for me,
yeah, go ahead.
well,
No,
for me, it's Philly in that defense. It's just I haven't seen a performance like that in the big game in, like you said, 20 years. I can't remember a performance quite like that.
Yeah, no, it was quite impressive. Congratulations to the Eagles and their fans. One of our buddies, AC Sports Live, he comes on. AC, congrats. I know you're a big Eagles fan. And yeah, they deserve that win. There was no question. And for me, that might not have been one of the greatest Super Bowls, but that was one of the greatest performances by a team in the biggest game against the team that needed to be beaten. So like I said, not the greatest game, but definitely a great performance. And Sheldon, speaking of great performances, when we get back, we're gonna have to talk about that halftime performance, right? Kendrick Lamar showed up at halftime. Very controversial. A lot of people loved it. A lot of people did not love it. I guess we'll come back in a minute. We'll talk about that. Guys, remember, this is The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. You can follow us on all our socials, and tell a friend. Tell a friend. We'll get back. We'll talk about this halftime performance. Take a drink, take a break, and we'll see you in a minute.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
Welcome back. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. And Trey did bring up that long snapper, and it reminded me of a sore spot that I had. I remember once we're playing Toronto Argonauts, and my old roommate with the Riders, Randy Straczynski, he did this. It was like 3rd and 5 at midfield, and then you used to keep on what you called safe punch. You keep the defense up, and you line up. Your only job is to make sure they don't run a fake. And lined up against him, Straczynski would do this weird thing. He would look down, and then suddenly before the snap, he'd snap his head up and snap the ball. Well, I should have known from film it was coming. I did know. I played with a guy, but you can't help but jump. And that's the most shameful thing you can do, is when you cost your defense a first down when you'd already gotten off the field over a stupid penalty. There was 2 of those calls on the long snapper, and you don't usually see those in the NFL. What's the deal on that? Do guys do that? Can you snapped in both leagues, NFL and CFL? Yeah. Is that an intentional thing to draw, or is that just a habitual thing you do that sometimes you get called for, sometimes you don't?
I think for some guys, it's an habitual thing. I mean, you put your head down, you look up to see which side they're rushing, you put it down. If you do it too fast, it could be looked at as an intent to draw the opposing team offside. I've seen it often, but could also just be a draw for attention. I mean, you're in the biggest game in the world, and you take a 5-yard penalty, your kicker's automatic no matter what. And you get your name announced by Tom Brady, and mom gets to hear you. So, not a bad call. I don't think they announced his name, though. I think they just called him number 49. I think there was like a media ban on, don't announce the long snapper's name if he's going to try and get publicity, because I don't think I remember his name. Do you remember his name?
Nope. Nope.
I
don't even remember his number. I thought it was 42 or something like that. But,
just a shameless ploy for attention.
Yeah, there you go.
Well,
Speaking of shameless ploys for attention, I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on this because, obviously, there's been a lot of backlash, a lot of talk going into the halftime show with Kendrick Lamar, just coming off of his, the week before, 5 Grammy Awards, like best song, best album, best video, best everything. I mean, he just walked away with it. It's super huge among the hip hop and rap crowd. Yet he gets up there and starts singing songs, and I see a lot of people just looking blank, trying to hear the words and understand what he's saying. Chev, what was your take on the show? Was this a complete flop? Was this just targeted towards a demographic of rap fans, leaving everybody else out, or was this a masterful performance?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm reading a lot of the reaction afterwards, and I'll start with this. I saw the Grand National on the stage, and I said, oh, this is going to be good. That's a pretty slick vehicle. Then when I realized they ruined the Grand National, put a hole in the bottom of it so all the guys could jump out, I was like, ugh. Now, as far as performance, so for me, I like a show. If I'm going to watch a halftime show, I like a show. I like something that speaks to all the audience, that everyone can enjoy. I get that hip hop is not everyone's type of music. It's not always my type of music. I do listen to hip hop. Maybe I don't listen to Kendrick Lamar regularly, but I listen to enough to know what I like versus what I don't like any type of art. And for me, I didn't like it. I thought it was quite bland. I thought it was more about the colorful dancing jumpsuits more than the music. And I get there was a lot of history there this year we even talked about Kendrick Lamar, Drake rap battle, but again, it was one of those things that it's like, do I need to have the rap battle drawn out in the Super Bowl stage? Like, again, my kids who listened to that music thought, it was okay, Dad. It wasn't great. And that's my take. I'm not saying it was horrible. I don't I guess I can understand some of the symbolism, but the whole taking out your personal beef with someone else on the biggest stage of the world, I don't know. It seems kind of petty. Like, the best revenge on anyone is silence. For him to go out and mention Drake's name, that means he still thinks about him. Like, you could look at Drake as being the biggest loser and maybe losing the rap battle, but the fact that on the biggest stage, you're talking about him. And the fact that on the biggest stage, Serena Williams, who's now remarried, is talking about her ex-boyfriend of 100 years ago. That'd be like me coming on here and start beefing on my ex-wife and just you know what I mean? It kind of reeks of, you guys aren't over it. You haven't moved on, and you need him for your success. So I don't know. I'm not into it as much as I would like. I thought last year Usher was boring because Usher hadn't had a hit in years, and I like the Usher performance more than this.
So here's the thing. Kendrick Lamar is coming off. He's at the top of his game, and he's been there for a while. Like I said, in our house, we do listen to him a lot. Most of the music that we listen to, you couldn't be playing at the halftime show. So I thought he did a really good job of that. If you have a problem with bringing his diss tracks and everything to the field, NFL's got Choose Love in the end zone, and here they are continuing a beef where somebody in Toronto a security guard for Drake did get shot last year. So, a little bit of respect should be owed there. But as Ruby was just saying, AC went off and called it a top 5 performance. Chev, I couldn't make out half of what he said during the show. I had to go back with speakers on, but you know what it was? I picked up Monday. It was cold here in Calgary. So I went to the school to pick up my boy and his friends, and I drove them all home. And all I heard, and I asked them about it, and they filled me in on everything, all the symbolism that went behind it. It was absolute lyrical genius. If you're following that story, some of the things he did, like the A minor, he didn't say the word, and I won't say it because you can't say it on YouTube. But it ends with file. He liked him. He liked him young. Pulls out the A minor. Turn your TV off. Was he saying that to the Americans that hated him, or was he saying that to Drake? There's a lot of things that were built into this that, although a lot of, probably 60% of America hardly know who Kendrick Lamar is. The other 40% absolutely love him because it's their thing. I thought it was an amazing performance. I went back to watch it a couple of times. I get what he's doing. Do I think it was the best call for a Super Bowl halftime show? hey, a certain amount of the population was absolutely appeased, including my kids and my wife. So, it's not going to be Prince every year. It's not going to be Beyonce every year or somebody you can totally get behind for everybody. But I thought he did a masterful job.
For me, I'm sure it was great if you love it. For me, I like artists that have a mass appeal. I'm not like, so again, someone who, I heard a lot of people say, well, next year it's got to be Morgan Wallen. Well, for the same group of people that loved Kendrick Lamar, Morgan Wallen might have the same effect. So I get it that not everyone likes every genre of music. I get that. But I think if you dabble in different genres of music, you don't have to be an expert to give an opinion that you like or dislike something. And you should have it within your rights to say that you like or dislike. What I don't like two things. I don't like, because I see things from middle. I don't like the fact that if you say 60% of the people don't know who Kendrick Lamar is, then they say that's a terrible performance. I'm not saying it's a terrible performance. I just said I thought it was okay, and I would prefer something that has more mass appeal. So for anybody that doesn't like hip hop, that couldn't understand him, to say, well, that was a crappy performance, which I've seen a lot of that, I think you're wrong. The flip side is that if you don't like his performance and you say, you know what, I didn't really like it. Like, I don't care for my Super Bowl halftime performance to be a political statement or have all this symbolism. Therefore, to me, it wasn't great. I shouldn't be called like a closed-minded white person that doesn't understand, because that's going on to, there's
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Yeah,
there's a lot of that. And it's like, no, it's not a racial thing, because you know what? Some of my favorite performances were from artists of color. I talked about Rihanna a few years ago. That was an impeccable performance. Yeah. And she's freaking pregnant, and she was flying over the freaking stadium. The Weeknd was like, meh. I wasn't too high on the Weeknd.
I liked Canadian. I liked his music.
Yeah, and I liked it better than this.
But then here's my point. Tegan Smith, if that's your real name, 50 Cent, Snoop Dogg, Missy Elliott was way worse. No, it wasn't. That was amazing. I'm a Gen Xer, right? That's where rap evolved from, and that's from
Dr. Dre. Didn't even mention Dr.
For me,
Dre.
that was my element, and so you're going to get anybody from age 30 on up that absolutely loves that. You know what? Anybody aged 35, 40 and down loved Kendrick Lamar. And here's the truth: if you go onto social media and you want to play the part of the victim, or you want to look for victimhood, you're going to find it, right? You can get as riled up over, well, if you didn't like it, you're racist. If you did like it, you're bringing crap that doesn't belong into a Super Bowl game. It was too much activism, too much hidden messaging. At the end of the day, you know what? I thought it was a good show. It's not for everybody, but I also do know this. Why do we watch the Super Bowl? We want to be entertained.
Yeah.
Why do people get on social media afterwards and break it all down? They want to be entertained. If you don't like it, Chev, just, take a couple of days off social media for it to die down. News cycle in this country is really, really quick.
Yeah, but again, and you're absolutely right on that. But again, when it comes to halftime shows, if I'm thinking about, I like halftime shows where the music is timeless or the performers are timeless. I mean, time will tell. Kendrick Lamar will be known as one of the greatest rappers of all time. Did the songs he's singing are they known as the greatest songs of all time? I don't know, because
he couldn't do a lot of his greatest stuff. Plus, he was telling a story. The whole show was to tell a story, right?
Yeah,
it was to tease they not like us, right?
You know what? He got 133 million views, which I think broke Michael Jackson's record. I'm sure when Michael Jackson came out to do the Super Bowl halftime show, people were just as disappointed back then. Oh, what's this guy doing? Shaking his butt, doing a moonwalk. But I'm sure at the time there were some people that didn't like it. Time will tell where this stands up. But for me personally, I can think of about 10 better halftime shows in the Super Bowl that I loved. And last week I said, will this show rival the Beyonce halftime show that Netflix did at Christmas? And for me, the answer is a resounding no. If you go back and you go to Netflix and play back that Beyonce show where she sang all her country stuff, which she did win Country Album of the Year award for, I believe, that was at least, I don't know, 50% better. For me, that was 100 times better than Kendrick Lamar's show.
She brought her thing though. She brought back Destiny's Child. She had Gas. She did all these things that were interesting to us because we knew the
Yes,
history.
Post
But
Malone.
I'm telling you right now, if Kendrick Lamar was a Marvel comic movie that brought in all these references that only the true Marvel fans knew, or what everybody in the geek world and fandom were talking about, you would have loved it, right? And I think that's what we got here. Yeah.
I would have loved it, but you know what would happen? Just as he asked everyone to do, everyone else would have turned their TV off. Look, last week when I talked about Superman and Fantastic Four, I could see the chatter in the comments going like, okay, it's time to go to bed, guys. I get it. Sometimes we talk about what we want to talk about, but you got to be aware that when you talk about, it's like me saying, Endgame was the greatest movie ever. Well, you know what? There are so many greater movies than Avengers Endgame, but just because I'm a comic book nerd and that's where my taste lies doesn't mean that's the greatest movie of all time. And I believe that's what we have here, that, you know, Kendrick Lamar's music, especially the performance he chose to do, which was tell his story, like you said, focus on his diss with Dr. Dre, was a very personal thing to him.
Right.
And those people that are totally into that thought it was the greatest. And the rest of us are like, we're listening to two athletes.
You're left out of the story a little bit.
It's like listening to two athletes on a podcast talk about an inside joke from the locker room, and you're like, oh, who's that? Like, what? Like, what's going on? And so, yeah, I totally understand how some people didn't like that performance. Didn't understand it. Thought, well, I would turn off my TV, but I got to be back here in 10 minutes for the game. So whatever. So I get the mixed emotions, but yeah, would it have been my choice? I don't know. I told you in jest that I think the NFL is making restitutions for their treatment of Colin Kaepernick for the last 10, 15 years. So, you know, trying to make up. So they're putting these symbolic gestures out there and letting people express themselves.
Now you're turning it a white-black thing again. Come on, Chevy.
But you know, the NFL is notorious for playing on what turning the dials on what brings them the views and the monies. And 10 years ago, this show would have not, the NFL would not have allowed this show. They would not have put Kendrick Lamar, but because now it makes a little more sense. You know what? And it makes a lot of money. Everyone wins except for the Chiefs. The Chiefs did not win. Sheldon, but speaking of music and great performances, we got something to tell you guys who are listening in tonight. Tomorrow, and I guess this, once it goes in the can, it'll be today, but we are running a little bit of a contest. So stay tuned to our social medias. Our Lady Peace is coming to Calgary on February 19th at the Scotiabank Saddle Dome. We have 2 tickets that we will be giving away courtesy of our good friends, Performance Freight Management. You'll be sitting in the Platinum Club. What you have to do is go to our social media tomorrow. At some point, we're going to post a like, subscribe, and share post, which means you have to like our post. You have to make sure that you're subscribing to all our social media channels, especially the one where we do on Instagram. So subscribe to our Instagram and then tag a buddy and have them share it. If they want to be in on the contest, they have to like our post, subscribe, share. Okay. And tag a buddy. So like I will put all the information in tomorrow. But just so you know, if you like Our Lady Peace, that's a great band. They're one of my favorite. My first concert was Our Lady Peace at the Molson Stadium in the winter at a snow festival, and they were fantastic. I haven't heard them in years, but I've seen them twice. They're pretty good. You like? So
are you announcing that they get to join us in a private box to see the show, or are we going? Or are we up to?
No, we're not going. No, we're not going. We can't win the contest. No, we've got 2 tickets tomorrow, guys. Like I said, follow our Instagram. Make sure you're following Instagram. It's going to appear there. It's going to be a like, subscribe, share, and tag contest, and all the rules will be there. Good luck. So you guys get the first dibs on it. You'll know that it's coming. What else we got to talk about? We got to do the blitz.
I think we got to do this. So Trey, if you're ready, Chevy, if you're ready
for the Chevy and Nasty Blitz.
All right, Chev. During the national anthem, they shoot a clip of Donald Trump with his family, and the whole place ignites and cheers, which you don't usually see during a national anthem. Fast forward a few minutes later, they got Taylor Swift up there, and she gets booed. Is that unfair? Is that political? What do you think was going on there? She didn't look too happy about it. She handled it well, but she definitely did not look like that was something she was expecting.
No, she definitely wasn't expecting to be booed, and then they put her on the big screen. She got booed, and she laughed it off. Listen, Taylor Swift, first of all, she's a multi-trillionaire. Whatever you think about her, she's probably not listening. But, I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan. I've got a little girl in my life that loves Taylor Swift. But if I'm in the car, I'm probably not going to put on her music. I'm more likely to put on Kendrick Lamar than Taylor Swift, to be honest. But, since she's been, I guess, associated with the NFL, with the, Travis Kelce and all that, she's taken a lot of heat. And I think it's a lot of unfounded heat. Yeah, it's not her fault that they show her on the screen. I'll tell you what, her presence in the NFL has brought a lot of different eyes to the league, which is different dollar signs. And I really have a hard time with guys that have such a problem with the 3 seconds that they show her on the screen, saying she's ruining football, and the stuff they say about her. Again, she doesn't hear. I've heard this quote, and I don't have daughters. You don't have daughters, but whatever they say about her, you're actually the only people that hear it is the daughters of these people that say it. So there's that. And then every time they show her, she got booed line. It's this huge political, they make a political statement of, oh, it's the end of the woke. Oh, here we go. It's the end of in what world is it normalized that Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is at war with Taylor Swift? Only in this crazy Trumpalooza that we live in, where these things even coexist, that it becomes a thing and people make it a thing. So I think it's unwarranted.
Do you think it's unwarranted? Do you think it hurt her?
No, I don't think it hurt her at all.
No, I think if anything, this should just rally the troops to her stock. It might hurt the NFL though, but I will say this again: if you're looking to be butthurt, go ahead, be butthurt. To me, I think it's all a bit of fun. Let's not forget that this was 50% Philadelphia Eagles fans, and if she showed up in Eagles Stadium, I think it'd be a much worse response. Second of all, if it was political, I still think it's kind of fun in games, because I just picture this. We saw Justin Trudeau not long ago showing up to a Taylor Swift concert, dancing with his kids and all that stuff. Took a lot of heat for that. What if they put Donald Trump up on the big screen at a Taylor Swift concert? Do you think he'd get maybe a couple of boos?
No, he'd probably get booed too.
I like these rivalries. I think she handled it well. I think it's fun. I'm not going to get too excited one way or the other, but I did find it quite interesting. I've never seen her booed like that before.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was pretty. But you're right. The Eagles fans in the stadium, I think it's fair game. I think it's more the online, because again, after the games, I always check to see what's going on online, whether it's with the game.
That's your problem.
Yeah, but I like to see what the story is that's being made of what happened, and there's a lot of that political rhetoric that her being booed is the end of the woke war. Like, who cares? Like, just get over your life. You know what?
Okay, speaking of getting over your life, and speaking of Taylor Swift, Kelce, what do you have? 39 yards.
Yeah, he did
so not look at his best. Looked kind of disjointed the whole night. So the guy's got 3 Super Bowl rings now. He's starting to tail off. Is he the kind of guy that's going to tail off into the sunset and just eke out every last yard that he can and every last experience in front of the crowd? Or is he like his brother 2 years ago? Is he going to pack it up? Is this the last time we've seen Travis Kelce in Pats?
I don't know. It would be like, tough call, because again, he looked out of sorts too after the game. He didn't have his greatest year leading into this, right? It's not like he had a stellar year and just a bad game. He had a pretty lackluster year. And then in the game where you thought, okay, maybe this is where he's going to show up, he had a couple of drops. It looked like he was off. And I mean, that's going to wear on a guy, right? Like, he's got a lot of distractions in his life. So he's got all his TV stuff. He's got his Taylor Swift and all that. And who knows, maybe they're going to get married this year, whatever. But he's probably going to question himself pretty hard. He's still one of the greatest tight ends in the game. There's no doubt about that. But he's going to have to take a long look in the mirror. Do I think this is the end of Travis Kelce? I don't know. And I think it might have to do with what they think about our next Bliss question, which is, you talk about the 2 teams that were in this game. Obviously, the Eagles won. They were absolutely dominant. The Chiefs looked like they never got off the airplane. However, fast forward, 2026, Super Bowl next year, San Francisco. which of these two teams, Eagles or Chiefs, do you think has the best chance to get back to the game? And that might answer Travis Kelce's potential retirement question.
Yeah, the way I look at this, when I look at what the Eagles did from last season to this season, they went in there and they completely revamped their defense. I think they have a couple. Well, at least what's the kid's name with the interception? Second round draft pick last year, had the pick 6 for the Eagles. They brought in free agents. They brought in Saquon Barkley. They completely revamped their team in the Eagles way, to the Eagles style. Yeah, Cooper DeJean. And it worked. If I'm looking at Kansas City, I'm looking at a bunch of their star players starting to slow down a little bit. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is done by any means. You saw, we've replayed some clips from 2 years ago when he was just up and coming. His mobility was amazing, and he still got that, but he's not the young guy he was. He needs a Travis Kelce that can be at the top of his game, so they can open up a lot of their speed guys around the field. And to do that, they're going to have to revamp that offensive line, because quite frankly, they could get away with it by just the threat of their weapons, having teams blitz them, and they can pick apart any blitzing team, any blitzing defense. But if you can't stop a 4-man rush, you've got bigger problems. And can you address an entire offensive line in 1 year? Do they have the cap space? Are there the guys out there that can do it? Do they have the right coach in play as a position coach? That's going to be the question for me right now. If there's a team that can get back there, it's Philadelphia, because where what Jalen Hurts did all season in limiting turnovers. And in fact, I read that he only threw 1 interception all of training camp in their practices, and over 300 passes, he'd thrown only 1 interception. Philadelphia is on the rise, and that defense with a lot of the new additions, they're going to be good for years.
So let me ask you this. You know, a week ago, and probably all of the season, it was, you can't bet against the Chiefs. A 60-minute game can change that whole perspective to the point where they are no longer a contender. I'm just asking. I'm not. This is not an indictment of your logic. I'm just saying, because that's literally what we're talking about. The team that we said we cannot bet against, all of a sudden there's a team that we can't bet on. Is that correct? Like,
no, not saying that, but they were exposed. They were exposed that they have a serious problem with pass protection, and to the extent of that, even their running game, without an offensive line that can go in there and be multidimensional to allow you to do all things at all times. What we saw today is that offense, the way it's built, cannot go against a 4-3 zone. Yeah. It cannot sit there and pick apart. If you've got quality players on the field that know what you're trying to do, if their 4 horsemen can get there and disrupt on 60% of the plays, and actually I think it was something more like 68% of the plays they had pressure on, then you've got to really rethink your offensive line. That's to me, that's the takeaway from the game, was that offensive line is not up to par, and they didn't have the talent and the speed and the guys that could get into space or catch contested passes enough to make up for that weakness.
Yeah, no, and that totally makes sense, because that's what I would say too. Now, how do they create the cap space? Is there guys that they can trade, cut, or restructure? Maybe one of those guys is Patrick Mahomes. No, absolutely not. That's a job you wouldn't want. But they do have a lot of weapons on offense that they can maybe restructure. I look at, we talked about the Patriots of old. That Patriots team that lost to the New York Giants when Michael Strahan wrecked them. That was the David Tyree catch, the helmet catch, where, they won a lot of Super Bowls after that. They didn't fall off a cliff like many teams do when they hit the final game and then they go in the opposite direction. You think about the 49ers, think about, when the Oakland Raiders were in the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and they just fell off a cliff after. A lot of those teams fall off a cliff. We talked about Arizona Cardinals when they played the Steelers, fell off a cliff the minute they lose. I don't think we see that from this Chiefs team. I think we see an AFC top 3 contender, maybe top 4. In my mind, I see the Bills there still. I still see the Ravens there. I see the Bengals making a strong push to come back in. I think they had a good surge this year. They just started slowly, and I can't knock the Chiefs off. So I think the Chiefs still have a very high probability of getting back to this game. Same with, with the NFC. If you look at the Eagles, I mean, yeah, they're there, but gosh, Detroit Lions were great this year. I don't know who the other NFC contender would be in my mind. The 49ers fell off. A lot of teams fell off. I mean, I think Washington, can they reproduce the success they had this year with the rookie? That's tough. The sophomore jinx is a real thing, you know? So I don't know. I definitely see that the Eagles right now are in the driver's seat. And to be the man, like you said, you got to beat the man, right?
Yeah. All right. I think that's all the time we got. We went a little bit late on that one. So we're going to take a quick break. Guys, when we come back, we got our studs and duds. See you on the other side.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
Do you want your business to be known? YYCCalgaryBusiness.ca is Calgary's only online media platform that gets you noticed. Short-form video content is rapidly taking over as the most effective way to engage your audience. Whether you're being interviewed on a vodcast, sharing a sizzle reel, or even hosting your own show, there is one place you can publicize your business. We want to tell your story and introduce you to our network of empowered business owners and leaders right here in Calgary. Isn't it time you took your digital game to 11? Call us or email us now.
That was fun. It's so fun to talk about a big game when it passed. You know, the big thing is that now that the Super Bowl is done, football for us is somewhat done for a number of months. You know, there's so much going on. CFL free agency hit today, but really it kind of puts to rest the 2024 season of football for us. And now we got a store to get into hockey. And, you know, Sheldon, tomorrow night, I know we're not really paying attention, but we will tomorrow night. The Four Nations Cup is coming up. That's pretty exciting stuff. First time in years that we get to see best on best minus Russia in a tournament. I know the NHL is preparing to go back to the Olympics, but I think, when was the last time we were in the Olympics? In Salt Lake City or Vancouver? Was that the last ones? 2011 was a long time ago.
It could have been. It's been a while.
So I'm excited to see this. We got some great, especially Canadians, 2014. So 10 years, a little over 10 years ago. We got some great young Canadians. Obviously, Connor McDavid. We've got the great Sidney Crosby. I mean, look at the team we put together. Sam Bennett. I'm just looking at Connor McDavid. We've got Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon,
Marchand Marner.
That's going to be a fun team to watch. And Cale Makar, right? Cale Makar grew up in the rink right beside my house up here in the northwest of Calgary. One of the greatest defensemen the NHL seen in a long time. And just exciting. Actually, the goaltender from Montreal, that I'm kind of excited about that. Montreal Canadian, Sam Montembeault, see if he gets an opportunity. But it's going to be fun. Are you excited to watch this? I mean, for me, you know, we talk about World Juniors versus this. I'm way more excited to see this because this reminds me of back in the day when Gretzky and Lemieux played on the Canada Cup, and that was some exciting stuff.
You know, it's funny. This almost snuck up on me in the sense, I've heard all the chatter, but I've always had it muted in the background. You go through Christmas and New Year's, and then you're starting up for me with We Drone, hitting the ground running in 2024, all the NFL playoffs, and it just kind of stuck up on me. But honestly, it's like when you go on vacation, you don't feel excited until you're at the airport.
Yeah.
And so I know, like, starting tomorrow, you know, that's all that's going to be on in the house. And I'll feel it. I'm not feeling it today, but I know I'm going to be feeling it tomorrow.
Everyone's gonna be talking about tomorrow. You're gonna be all in just because of the heated rivalry. Let me ask you this. Every year the NHL All-Star game comes along and people say, "Oh, it's boring. Why do we do it?" Isn't this an All-Star game, or is there a little bit more at stake because it's this is different, right?
Yeah, this is different. I mean, for in hockey, whether we win every year or not, this is Canada's game. And we all felt it that this is our birthright to be the number one in the world. And we always had been, but the world's gotten really strong. They've gotten better every year. And there's teams out there that can beat us now. And all they want to do, like we're the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. We're the one that everybody's sick of seeing winning year after year. And we are the benchmark that if you beat Canada, you win this tournament, you are the best hockey program in the world. Now, that's not meaningful to all countries, but to the four nations that are here, this is big. And so that just that pride of having your flag on your jersey, I think just changes the way you play. I wish football had something like that. I would have loved to do that.
Let me ask you one more question. World events, world politics aside, Russia not being in this tournament, does it lack a little bit of luster?
You know how I feel about Russia.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to know what
for me, no luster. No luster is lost. I mean, it's great if the world gets back to normal again, which hopefully it will someday. Yeah, we got to get Russia back in there. But I was, when I was a kid watching Vladislav Tretiak for the CCCP back in the day, that was exciting because they were the strange enemy. Right now, they're just a country that is trying to take over Ukraine and killing 80,000 people. Yeah. Like you take like you said, take the politics out, and yes, it does take a little bit of shine off of the finish.
It's but like the US I'm okay with Canada, like the 51st state playing against the host country.
Dude, why do you keep saying like all of Canada is going to go to make Alberta an offer? We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know.
See what happens.
Okay, well, let's get to our studs and duds. Speaking of dud offers, let's get to the studs and duds. Let's go, Trey. Trey.
There we go. Chevy, can I start off with my dud of the week?
Yeah.
This one was awesome, guys. You're gonna love this story. So I was at home just kind of getting some stuff prepared after work and off to the editors and all that good stuff. And this news story comes up on CTV. I found it. A woman from Whitby, Ontario, named Joanne Whalen. Name's not important, right? Mm-hmm. But she was talking about this psychic. She's always gone to psychics, kind of finds it fun, entertaining. But she went to the psychic to talk about boosting her love life. Halfway through, the psychic said, I can, for $550, I will put a love spell on you so that man in the gym that I see in your future is going to notice you and a great relationship and romance will blossom. Well, for $550, I'm pretty much stealing it to find a lifetime partner, right? Yeah. So she agrees to it and they put the spell on, but nothing happened. Over the coming weeks and months, the psychic kept coming back saying, well, this is a little more complicated. We're going to have to put in more work. By the end of the day, I think it was something like 16 months later, she had paid this woman $50,000 to a psychic, $50,000. She had bought gold bars to be used in the different rituals to cast these love spells. And at the end, she came on to national news saying, I felt like the psychic misrepresented herself. I was disappointed that I paid her all this money and she didn't deliver what she said she could deliver. And you know what the psychic said? She didn't follow my advice. She didn't do what was necessary. Chev, I tell you what, let me ask you this. If you pay another person $50,000 to put a love spell on you to fix your love life, are you being robbed or are you just giving your money away? Whose fault is this?
I better have a few people fall in love with me for $50,000. Like,
think of the love that $50,000 could buy you, Chev. Come on, man.
Yeah, lots of love in there. I mean,
anyway, that's my guys. If it sounds too good to be true, if it involves any voodoo, gold bars, or $50,000 cash, just walk away.
Yeah, walk away. So, am I gonna start with my dud? Okay, I'll start with my dud. Listen, this is quite embarrassing, but on Super Bowl Sunday, my alma mater, McGill University, had a celebration of all the people that impacted the NFL from McGill University over the years. And some of them pictured was Laurent Duvernay-Tardif, great Kansas City Chief. My buddy JP Darsh, who's a doctor with the Chiefs, played in the NFL for a number of years. Samantha Rappaport, I'm not sure who she is, but former.
Who'd she play for?
I don't know. See, well, I don't know. It says
DEI
former-
officer in the NFL head office.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then doctoral student Dimitri Sindinonis. I don't know him, but very smart guy, Bachelor of Engineering. He's currently making history as the first Canadian to play professional football in Japan. And then obviously the 1874 McGill played Harvard in the first formal games of what would become American football. I knew that, but one of my buddies, I didn't even know this came out. One of my buddies, Matthew Kivigier, a great CFL player, East-West Shrine Bowl player and former McGillian, said, what about Randy Chevrier, 7th round draft pick of the NFL in 2001? Well, I didn't know what to reply. So I said, I had no impact. I had no impact.
Wow.
I was the first player from McGill's history to be drafted, and I got beat out by a guy that's playing beer.
Darsh wasn't drafted.
No, he was a free agent. He
had a good career. Yeah, outside of you and JP Darsh, I don't recognize a single name on here. But you know, when I think back, you brought this up before, McGill in the Hall of Fame.
I went to the Hall of Fame this year. This was my Hall of Fame,
but they wouldn't pay for your transportation. You had to say, "Hey, come on, guys!" Like, you know, and so you complained until they did pay for your transportation because they said, "I guess that's fair. I live in Calgary." You know, maybe that's it. Maybe you're just one of those needy McGill students.
Yeah, maybe. I find it
maybe
funny.
Your French wasn't good enough. I
find it funny that I got beat up by a guy that's being celebrated for going to play beer league football in Japan. and then you know, I guess further to the it doesn't bother me, but further to the conversation, I guess McGill University alumni said, "Oh, our bad. We couldn't find a high resolution picture of you." They've got a picture of the 1874 McGill team. Anyways.
Yeah, you're on the wall, aren't you? In McGill now, you're on the wall.
Yeah, my mom still loves me. My mom still loves me. So that's my dud this week, you know, and it's probably me because I guess I just didn't do enough to get to the NFL. Like, am I allowed to say that I played in the NFL? Jeez, you know. Okay, I'm going to go to my stud. Speaking of stud and families, and my stud this week is Jeremiah Trotter Jr. And I guess Jeremiah Trotter Sr. Both Philadelphia Eagles. Everyone knows Jeremiah Trotter Sr., who played many years with the Eagles. Went to the Super Bowl. They lost to the Patriots, I believe it was, years ago, and that was with Donovan McNabb. And this year, his son, Jeremiah Jr., drafted by the Eagles, wears the same number as his pops, wins Super Bowl on his dad's birthday. That's
very cool.
That's cool. I mean, geez, that like you can't script it any better. If you're a dad, I mean, I know how proud I was when my son won St. Francis Browns city championships this year, how proud I was for him. I couldn't even imagine what this feels like for a pop. And you know, obviously the circumstance where the dad played for the Eagles, he knows what it is to be in that locker room. He knows the blood, sweat, and tears it takes to get there, and then to see his son hoist the trophy, that's a pretty cool moment. That's my stud of the week. What about yours?
Look at the size of his hands. He looks like he'd still go.
Oh yeah.
My stud of the week, Chev, and this was, I'm not saying this to be controversial, but my stud of the week, maybe just a little bit, is Doge in the United States.
Oh my goodness.
They're going through that. Look at it. If you look at that graphic right there, we spend 6.1 trillion a year, but we bring in 4.4 trillion a year in taxes. Is that sustainable? It's not. If I had one complaint in this world, and I'm not saying I don't want them cutting unnecessary programs. I really truly hope they're not cutting effective world aid. They're saying they're not. I'm going to take that at face value. But if I were king for a day, I would make a rule where every 10 years we would have to examine our budget as a city, our province, and our country, and trim the fat. And it's finally happening. But the reason I'm bringing this up is not to push Democrats or push liberals or anything like that. It really interesting. A few years ago, a president said, I pledge to create a high performance team to evaluate every federal agency and office. After such reviews, we will fire government managers who aren't getting results. We will cut funding for programs that are wasting our money. And we will use technology and lessons from the private sector to improve efficiency across all levels of government, because we cannot meet 21st century challenges with 20th century bureaucracy. Do you know which president of the United States said that? Barack Obama in 2008 when he was campaigning. This is not a partisan issue. And I know the same thing I say about social media. If you want to find a beef, if you want to get butthurt, you will find it. Yes, we have to keep an eye on our politicians, but this is something that's been brewing in the United States for 20 years. And this is something that is long past prime in our country. And finally now, I will take it a step further. As divisive as Donald Trump is to many people that are out there, I can make an argument that he may end up being the greatest prime minister of all time. Although he's ripping scabs off of Canada, he's ripping off scabs. Scabs we don't need. We got to scar that tissue up. We got to get tough again. And we got to take a look at our own mess and our own problem and start fixing things. Right now, Canada's never been more united than in the last 15 years since Trudeau got into power.
We're getting there. I think we need to unite. I think
listen, I lift up Donald Trump and I'll lift up Elon Musk when they're doing things that I think is better for the world. But at the same time, I'm buying Canadian.
Yeah.
Screw it, right? But I'm not vacationing in the States this year. Screw it.
I think
Canada needs to take care of Canada. If we're relying on America to take care of Canada, we have a problem in this country.
Absolutely. I believe we need a Doge in Canada. I just heard today. I was listening to the news in the wake of the that horrible shooting out east about 5 years ago, where the man impersonated an RCMP officer. He drove around in a cruiser. And he killed a bunch of people, right? And that was, I believe, 4 or 5 years ago. The RCMP put a pause on selling any of their surplus vehicles. So anything that could be mistaken for a police cruiser, they put a pause on. But they basically, they're not selling them anymore. They're scrapping them. They're sitting in storage, and they're being waited to be crushed, right? And these are cars, these are SUVs, these are pickups, but it's extended to like 4 side-by-sides, ATVs, like vehicles that it's like you can buy them anywhere. And the RCMP has this program where they're basically destroying all this stuff. So there's no investment recovery. And not only is there no investment recovery, there's no plan. So they're just sitting there in storage at taxpayers' expense with no plan after 4 years, right? And, the discussion was, I could go buy an old Crown Vic on Auto Trader, and if I wanted to decal it up, or an old Ford Taurus or an Explorer, I mean, they have to find a sensible solution, and not a solution that's just costing us money with absolutely no action. And this type of programs, I believe, need to be examined. They can't just create these programs. I mean, and a lot of times you follow the breadcrumb trail, and someone that is in government or related to government or some sector of that is making money off these programs that people aren't scrutinizing.
It's an industry.
Look what's happening in our own province with the Conservatives right now, and this AHS scandal.
Absolutely. So, and here's the thing: I am a conservative, and I support Danielle Smith on a lot of things. I want to get to the bottom of this.
Absolutely.
This is why conservatives turned on Kenny. Now she says there's misunderstanding. We don't see the whole story. I'm willing to see it. I'm going to hear anybody out. But I'm not a guy that wears a team jersey and just supports it 100%. I want to see results. And if you say you're going to fix something and you don't, I don't trust you. That's why I'm excited, because for the first time, like Brock had said, a high-performance team to value every federal agency in office. And we will fire the managers that aren't getting results. We'll cut funding for programs that don't make sense. And that's, to me, that's a good thing. And I hope we can take something like that from Canada. I'm not for costing people's jobs. But if we're paying, with streaming services, if you've got 15 streaming services and they're only $12 a month, $15 a month, but they keep going up every year. Some of you don't even watch. Some of you you're not even aware, because they only bill at random times, like March or October, right? Next thing you know, you've got all these costs coming out of your pocket on a yearly basis that you don't want and you don't need.
I got a great example of that. So you know what I do with the boys. Every year at Christmas, I buy them the movie pass, right? I told you that. I buy them a movie pass. We each have an account for Landmark. It's $10 a month. So let's say about $45 with tax. Each of us get a movie ticket. And if we don't use it, it carries over and it carries over and carries. Well, guess what? The Chevys are a very busy family. We don't get out. My oldest son is in university. He's got a girlfriend. He goes to work. My other son plays football. My other son does this. I looked at our accounts. We each have about 12 movie passes accumulated. Do I need to keep paying $45 a month? Are we going to blow through those 12? No. So I'm calling Landmark and I'm like, hey guys, can I pause my payments and not lose because my big fear is that I'm going to lose my movie tickets before I pull the plug. But yeah, if they say, hey, you can keep your tickets, I'm pulling the plug because it's unnecessary expense. We've seen a lot of that in Canada. And unfortunately, we've been plagued by, you look at the United States, you talk about trillions. Well, we're dealing with billions here. There's a reason why we have a surplus of 62 billion. A lot of it is the misspending. You talk about the ArriveCan app that was supposed to cost us, $2 million or $7 million, whatever it was, that ballooned up to, I think it was like $50 million. You look at the Bombardier scandal, the SNC Lavalin. Fortunately, all of these are under the leadership of our current prime minister, and that needs to be cleaned up. We need an Elon Musk. The only thing I would like to see is an Elon Musk that's an elected official. I think when you talk about the U.S. and you want to bring it up, the Doge is great. I think it makes sense. But it seems an awful lot of power for a guy that was not elected by anyone, that is there because of privilege and money and stands to benefit from a lot of stuff.
Oh, you know what? You have to watch out to make sure he doesn't benefit from it. But I'll tell you what, you know who else has been unelected and having a lot of power and getting a lot of reward from it? The guy they just exposed today paid $1.5 million a year to watch mail come in and mail go out of a single mail depot. Watch the mail come in, get opened and sent out. Yep. These are partisan positions that get handed off. Whenever you have bureaucrats in power for too long, you better believe that Uncle Joe, their ex-roommate, their ex-girlfriend or boyfriend, they are all on the take. Not only that, you can build companies that provide the need for that. And that's the problem with government spending right now. And that's why Arrive Scam happens and all these other programs.
Yeah, Daryl talks about the gun registry.
Another one. Rip off the scabs. We got to start from scratch. Yeah, and it's going to be hurt. It's going to hurt, and it's going to be chaotic, and you're going to make some mistakes. But the biggest mistake you can make is for the Kansas City Chiefs not to address their offensive line issues. Bunch of great guys. Some of them won't be there next year.
Let me ask you this question. If we're talking a little bit of politics, it came out tonight. I don't know if you saw it because we're kind of busy. Talking about Stephen Harper. Did you see his quote today? Something along the lines, I wish it was up here, but something along the lines that basically if Canada had to succumb to the United States, let me just see if I can pull it up here, that he would, if he was prime minister, he would rather impoverish the citizens and fight for Canada's sovereignty than give in to Trump. And a lot of people are praising him for those comments, like basically taking a stand for Canada. I'm trying to see what he said, if I can pull it up here. What do you think of that, just on the outset of the tone of that? So here it is.
We're going total. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Read it.
Yeah. Let me see what it says. He says, Stephen Harper says, Canada should accept any level of damage to fight back against Donald Trump. If I can find a little bit more. He says, I don't often agree with Donald Trump. I can't find the actual full quote here. I would be prepared to impoverish the country and not be annexed if that was the option we were facing. What do you think about that? I mean, this is Stephen Harper. To me, I feel like he was one of our great leaders.
Yeah, he was one of our great leaders, and he was a prime minister. He was a federalist, and that's absolutely the position I expect him to take. And I think it's a strong position. I'm in that. I talked about this before. I don't expect anybody in Alberta to say, "Hey, states are great, just go leave."
But he also has a very strong position on Daniel Smith's cabinet. He's in position with Daniel Smith.
He's a big voice in all the conservative parties right now. I don't know how much control he has over Daniel Smith. Well, to me, they're quite different. I think that's what you got to say, and that's the kind of strong leadership that you need. I will throw it back to the common guy. Chev, if you were offered a job in the NFL, would you say I'm a Canadian and I'd rather be impoverished playing in the CFL? No, man.
Yeah, but this is not the same. This is destroying a country. This is saying, hey, when you leave Canada to play in the NFL.
A post-national state of a country. And yes, I am a proud Canadian. I grew up a proud Canadian. My only problem right now, Chev, is I don't think I know when I think of what it was to be a Canadian growing up, I don't think that's what those guys in central Canada think a Canadian is. In fact, I feel like for the last 10, 15 years, I've been the problem.
But I think everyone has a different idea of Canada. But I do agree that what you said, that because of Donald Trump, this could be the catalyst of uniting us in a different way, in a way where we remove some of the barriers that divide us, the trade barriers, the energy barriers, even some of the social and economic barriers that have challenged us for years, just because it's been easier to do business with the United States. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Frankly, it shouldn't be. And I think I'm hoping that changes on the horizon. Am I a fan of what's going on in the States? I'm not. I don't like the way it's being done. It's done in a very bullyish style, but maybe you're right. Maybe that's what it takes. Maybe it takes a real perceived threat. I mean, we didn't have a true presence at the border until Donald threatened the first round of tariffs. And all of a sudden we have, 10,000 soldiers or 10,000 officers, and was it $2 billion committed to the border? Great. So if that's what it takes to get us to be a better country, because I do believe some of the things that we need have been lacking, like a stronger commitment to military, stronger commitment to border security, stronger positions on immigration, proper
commitment
immigration,
to
right?
innovation, tax structure that allows Canadians to build factories here right off of your factory equipment the same year you bought it, not over 10 years. It's there's more scams in Canada than ad scam right now. But maybe this is the start of a change. I still want to be optimistic. So, I'm going to be optimistic. And on that optimistic note, Chev, I think we've got a little bit of, I don't know how everybody feels about us getting into politics, but what started like a phone call between us on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, but so let's finish with something that is truly Canadian. That's our Canadian Football League. Free agent frenzy. We lost a couple of players today in Calgary. Micah Alloy went to BC. Any moves, again, it's the last we're going to probably talk about football for a while, unless there's some big news. Anything you like that you saw today? Anything that surprised you?
I think all the big action happened already. That Canadian linebacker we picked up from Toronto, great. Looks like a good player. I like.
Yeah, Fraser Sopik. Yeah, he was.
Sopik, yeah.
I think that's a great move for the Stamps. I mean, the Stamps got to do some stuff. They lost a few players. They lost Peyton Logan. They lost Stevens. Everyone loved Tommy Stevens. They lost Mike out. They're starting middle linebacker. That one I was surprised because they got rid of Cameron Judge. He goes to Saskatchewan. They replace him with another Canadian linebacker, Fraser Sopik, who I think is a great linebacker. He was starting on a very good defense in Toronto, but not too much. Sean Oakman, that big, humongous defensive lineman he's
going back to back east.
Yeah, he's going to Alouettes. Jeremiah Masoli, he's going to go from Ottawa to BC, which opened a spot in Ottawa, and that's where the Matt Schultz from the Stampeders go. So it's a little bit of movement.
I was going to ask you that. So that Schlitz guy,
Matt Schultz. He was the guy that got
the one that was supposed to be good, or was he the one that we put in when?
No, he was the one that was supposed to be good that it got hurt. He was the one that started 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they started him over Bo Levi Mitchell in the was it the Eastern Conference semifinal? Remember when Sean Lemon said he's going to sack both of them? He was the heir apparent. Then they traded him, and he comes to Calgary. He gets hurt. He never got a shot. When Jake was floundering, he was hurt, so he never got a chance to kind of prove what he can do. And I don't know who the Stampeders' backup quarterback this year, but I guess Schultz is like, well, I have no chance there. So he moves on, and it's the start of something. Free agency in the CFL is never a huge deal. I didn't see, the Stampeders have to shore up their receiving core for sure. I lost a couple of guys, but it's the start of the prep for the CFL season. The schedule has been released. Maybe we can go through that in the next coming weeks to see if there's some games. Some people have approached us about season tickets. Would you get some season tickets to the Stamps, Sheldon? Would you?
Yeah, I used to be a season ticket holder. Actually, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't until I discovered camping. But now my problem is I can only camp for half the summer, because then when kids football starts, I'm coaching. I'm in town every weekend, right? So maybe this is a year.
I'll have to get some Chevy and Nasty tickets and do tailgate or something. But I find it increasingly difficult to get to the games. Like everything starts early and the kids are so busy. But I'd like to get out I always get out to the Labor Day game, but I'm going to try and make a few more this year. Whether or not the Stamps' fortunes change on the field, I do believe in the CFL. I love the CFL. The games are exciting. And I'll put this year's Grey Cup up against that Super Bowl any time of the week, any time of the year. I thought the Grey Cup was way more exciting than the Super Bowl, and it's been that way for the last couple of years, I would think. And so if anything, when we do get annexed to the United States, I just hope that they find a way to keep the CFL alive. Give us our own conference. Do we become NFL? Like what happens? What happens, Sheldon? Tell me what happens. What does Trump have in store for my CFL before we get going? I want to know what your plan is.
Well, I think after Trump's finished with his last presidency, he's going to run for commissioner of the NFL. He might set up a conference, but I think what we're going to, I don't know. Chev, I don't know. You got me on that one, buddy.
Okay, well, listen, that's all the time we got for tonight, guys. We're Chevy and Nasty. You can follow us on all our socials, Facebook, Twitter. Remember, tomorrow, Instagram, we are going to be putting out the subscribe, tag, and share contest for tickets, 2 tickets to Our Lady Peace. We love having you guys around. The conversation that you guys engage in while we're talking keeps us inspired and gives us lots to talk about. Trey, great job this week producing the show. Sheldon, thanks for showing up and picking up the phone every week, and we do our little thing. This has been great. You guys are awesome. We'll see you next week.